So we've got the 67 Pro Reverb amp here, and we got all the work done up here in the top part of the chassis, but now we need to flip it over and go to the doghouse. You can see it's got a very, very clean, it's dusty, but the actual faceplate has basically no damage to it. It's very, very clean. Looks great. So flip it over. You can see the transformers real quick if we want to check those out. So I can zoom in here. So this one reads 606-614, so the 14th week of 1966. This one is 606-620, 20th week of 66, 606-625, so the 25th week of 66. So all the transformers date 66, and then the rest of the codes in the amp, the tube chart and everything, those are all 67. I can't remember actually. I'm pretty sure it's all original. Let's see. Yep, all original. Look at that. Some people, that's what you want to see. Other people, not so much. Personally, that's what I want to see. That looks great. I love seeing things all original. You can see that this cap is actually bulging a good bit. You guys won't be able to see it necessarily. Let me see on the other side. So no bulging that side. This cap right here does have bulging, but the rest look okay. But obviously these are bad and we need to replace them. Zoom in. You guys see that? So you can see how it's bulging right here and here. So those are signs of caps going out. Now it wasn't noisy, but yeah, that's a very clear visual sign. Obviously they're all original, so we want to replace those. Now whenever I work with an amp that has a doghouse like this, where the caps are, you know, located in a separate area and it's got a standby switch, I always want to check for voltage in them, even if I did already on the other side, just to make sure that everything is okay, just to be safe. So we're gonna go and just connect like that and that. We got 1 volt, so nothing to worry about there. Yeah, totally fine. We'll confirm on these as well. And these have kind of a funky, oh sorry, it's the other way. These have kind of a funky layout. I was just gonna say is that you can notice that all the positives sides of the caps are facing me here, and then this one is facing the other way. So this is, and then these are 70 microfarad 350 volts, and these are 20s, 20 microfarad 500 volts. So kind of interesting layout here, not typical for what you normally see in the more popular Fender models. So we've got two 70 microfarad 350 volts. There you go. These are replacement mod caps. You can see how much smaller they are. So again, we got to be mindful that the positive on this one is going this way and the rest are going towards me. And then we've got, the rest are all 20 microfarads. So we've got, how many? 3? So then we got 20 microfarad, 20, and then one more, 20. So that's the plan for today. Let's go ahead and put these off to the side. So typically what I like to do is just start by adding a little bit of fresh solder to everything. Just to get the solder flowing, because this is all original solder. These have beautiful domes on them, which is going to be kind of hard to replicate, unfortunately. Cool, so we got fresh solder added to everything there, so we should be in a much better place with removing everything. Now, on some Fenders I've run into, they actually have the leads spider off to where they're actually part of the, so they go through the eyelet and then they also are used as jumpers to connect between the different positions here of the eyelets. I'm not sure if that's the case with these or not, so I think what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and start by trying to pull it out. And then if I see any resistance, I'll just cut it and because we'll be removing the board and doing all of that. So, but I think first we'll just start with this. Let's see if it wants to come out or not. And that one does not want to come out, so that's probably an example of that. There's the first cap removed. I think what we'll do is just suck out some of the solder first to see what's in here. Braid's a lot better than the solder sucker, but to be honest, I've been using so much of it, I don't have a ton left, so I just want to kind of conserve what I do have, at least a little bit. So let's go ahead and just remove all of the wires, and then we can just remove the board itself. We're just working on a 1967 Fender Pro Reverb. I just sold this amp. I've had it for a bit, and I sold it to a gentleman who, yeah, I just want to make sure it's good to go for him. So that's interesting. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a lead just kind of poking out right here. But I'm not sure if you can be able to see that at all. It's sticking out. Let's see if I can put something under it that'll make it pop out, maybe my finger. You see that? So there's a lead sticking out of this eyelet, basically straight up. And but it's not connected to anything, so it's probably a bridge connection under the board. That's a bit goofy. I'm after some big fish, so I got to get rid of some stuff. So I'm selling my other AC30, the one that I showed in the first AC30 video I did. Not the Super Twin that I worked on. Get all this just out of the way. So let's see, the quick reveal. What's going on in the back? Oh yeah. So that would be why some of the wires didn't want to come out. Make sure I have the orientation correct on this. So there's the date code on it. 1167. 11th week of 67, I'm guessing is what that is. Little T for Tanner there. So that'll help make sure I keep it right way up when I disassemble it here. So for these ones that are the bridge connections, I'm just going to leave the factory bridge connections because they work. There's nothing wrong with them. And we're just going to go ahead and bend over the leads so that, and then we'll cut them. If I was going to spend all day on it, then I would redo them all. But there's really no reason to do it other than just to make it a bit more aesthetically pleasing. But nobody's going to see this. But you can see here, let me change to autofocus here. So you can see here that this right here, hopefully you can see that, it's like sticking straight up. So this is the lead right here, the bridge wire. And I guess Fender just didn't bend it over. They just kind of left it long and just cut it at the top. Kind of funny. Kind of stuff you don't really see too often. That goes to show you, hand wired, hand built. Stuff like that happens. And all this crap you see here, that's all just old flux, so that'll come off. That'll come off when we're ready for it to come off. Let's go and check these 220Ks. 234K, that's fine. I'm not personally one of those people that's like, if it's not exactly 220K, you know, I the whole 10% tolerance thing, if it's close, it's close, and I don't think it's really worth replacing necessarily unless they're way out. But 220 to 240, it's more than 10%, but it's not, to me, that's not like, we got to get rid of them. So we're going to leave it, and I think I'm going to cut this, though. Do I leave that? No, I'm going to leave that, because that's factory, right? That's what the factory did. They left that. So we'll leave that. Let's see what these resistors are. I might have to lift one out. So 4.9, so this one's probably quite a bit out. Let's see what it's supposed to be. I know the codes like that are more common, that you see more typically in Fenders, but I don't know the resistor values that are less common as well. But easy to pull up a calculator here and just see what it is. So we got yellow, purple, violet, I guess they call it, red, silver tolerance band. Oh, so I was completely wrong. This is supposed to be a 4.7K. Typically when I think yellow, purple, I think there's a 3 in there, but obviously I was wrong. 4.7K, so this is 4.9. And let's see, 4.7 plus 10% is 5. So we're good. This is within tolerance. So we can keep that. This should be a 10K, I think, or a 1K. Looks like it's a 1K. We will confirm real quick. Brown, black, red, silver, 1.1K. And that one is within tolerance. Cool, so we can keep the original resistors. That's always nice. Again, I'm not the kind of person that's, oh, I see an old carbon comp swap with metal, a metal film or whatever. You know, I don't like to do that. I like to leave things as factory as possible, within reason. It's a little weird doing work in a live stream and trying to record. I'm not sure how well the the video is going to come out, but that's okay. I do have to clean this eyelet out a bit more though. One sec, guys. I'm getting a phone call. Uno momento. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, so I got the amp open here. I discharged it as we discussed, and I'm reading 8 volts on one cap.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's giving me a little bit more. Hold on, that's the negative. It's giving me 25.
So you just... So 25, do you have a multimeter? You're obviously using one. Just hook it up to ground on one side and then to that lead of the cap, and it'll slowly drain it.
Oh, just like leave it here?
Yeah. Just leave it connected so you see the 25 volts, and you'll watch it slowly drain. It'll take a while, but the resistance from the multimeter will slowly drain it.
Okay, you're right. There it goes. 25.1.
Yeah.
25.0, 24.9.
There you go. I got the Pro Reverb on my bench. I'm actually live streaming right now. Your audio is not coming through. Don't worry.
That would be, how badass would that be? Like you're live streaming, working on an amp, and one of your friends calls you with that other cool amp open for advice.
Hey, I'm happy to unmute it. I just didn't want to blow up your spot.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I had it muted, Josh, originally, because I just didn't know if he wanted to be on the stream or not, but he didn't care, so I turned it back on. So that's my buddy Rusty. He's got a 1970 Park. If you guys checked out my, you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen a video of us playing it the other day when we did a gear hang. And he was just wondering how he had a loose transformer bolt, and so wanted to just make sure that it was safe for him to go in there. So this is just for everyone tuning in now. We've removed all of the old caps here. So these are all the original Mallory's, and we're swapping in new caps. The original resistors all measured fine, so we're going to keep those. And this layout's a bit funky to where you got the first 70 microfarad 350 volt positive going that way, and then all the rest of positives are facing towards me here. And so we're just going to kind of roughly lay it out, and then we'll silicone them in, and then we'll solder everything. But first I just want to kind of get the leads roughly straight. It always bothers me when the leads are all kinked. The mod caps are actually a lot harder to keep them from kinking. They're not as thick. I think that's partially why they're not as expensive as F&Ts. The caps themselves are excellent. They're rated to 105 degrees Celsius, which is actually more than most F&T caps, if I remember correctly. They're really good caps, but I think they cheap out a little bit on the, the exterior look. It's just, it's not as classy looking It's just got the clear shrink wrap versus the F&T, and then also I think the leads themselves are just not as thick as the F&Ts. But the caps themselves, again, are excellent. So that's a bigger priority. Unfortunately, when you buy them, they come, wrapped around themselves. So you got to kind of do what I'm doing now. So for the silicone, I just use this Silicone RTV, the clear one. Never given me problems. I've used it for everything. So typically what I like to do for these is just to kind of, I'll do one and have it roughly in the center. This little bend is going to bother me. And this is a losing battle too. I want to make that clear. There's no way to get it perfectly straight, especially when the leads have already been bent and they're thinner like what's on this. But, that's not going to stop me from trying, of course. So we're going to put it roughly in the middle. And what I like to do is get a Sharpie and just put a tiny little mark of kind of roughly where it needs to bend over, start bending over. That way I have a reference point, and then I'll just hand bend it because I don't have any fancy bender. I'll just kind of use my finger to do that sort of thing. Because you don't want it to be a straight right angle. You want it to have a slight kind of bend to it. And I'll just keep playing with it with the leads long until I'm happy with it, and then I'll match the other ones to it. So now that we've got that roughly in place, we can go ahead and bend the other ones to try and match it. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just kind of in a similar vein. Have you ever bent the lead around the Sharpie? That's a good question. I've not. I've seen people do a lot of stuff like that. I have tried bending around this, but Sharpie's probably better. Let's see. I like your idea already. All right, that should work. Now let's just go ahead and make sure everything is straight. Or straight as we can get it, right? We're not going to freak out about it, but looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. This one's a little wavy. Yes, I know I'm crazy. This stuff matters to me though, because I think it shows that you care. Right? I mean, I've worked on several amps where they literally just cut the existing leads off and then just J-hooked on the new ones. In fact, I think that was what was on my Varbalux. And to me, I'm just like, man, to me that just shows you're just working as fast as you can and you don't care. That's what that says to me, which is kind of the opposite of what I want to get across here. I don't add a ton, just kind of enough to go from the front to the back, something like that. And then remember, positive side facing me. Get that placed down, and then I just give it a little squeeze. So you can see some silicone coming out both sides. Looks nice and even. And then we'll carefully go ahead and just bend these leads over. So now it'll hold itself, no problem, no solder needed. It's not going to go anywhere. Happy with that. So that's one down. Let's go ahead and do the next one. And there you go. So there is there's the 3 20 microfarad 500 volts siliconed on, and the wires bent over. We will cut these, but for right now we're just going to leave it and go on to the last ones, which are the 270s. Brilliant. All right, that looks pretty good. What do you guys think? So again, not soldered in yet, but looks sharp. And this will be good for decades, which is exactly what the new owner, I'm sure, wants. What I like to do after recapping things too is I will grab some tape and then put in here and Sharpie on the date so that the next guy knows. All right, there you go. Yeatsy guitar, 12/30/23. Recap job done. I really ascribe to the, what's it called? The Hippocratic Oath. That sort of thing when it comes to working on amps. Do no harm. Right? We're just fixing them and getting them good to go. But we're not trying to harm them or leave an unnecessary fingerprint on them. So I had somebody on that amp also, they literally wrote in Sharpie on the chassis on the inside their initials too, which I thought was crazy. All right, nice and screwed in there. That looks great. Now all this stuff here is just, I mean, we can get that off. It's not a big deal. Do I have a flathead here? So this is all just excess flux. So it'll just kind of scrape right off. Now, normally what you do is you'd hit it with isopropyl and that would remove it. However, you can see there's markings here, and I don't want isopropyl to touch that because it could remove that. So none of this is a negative to anything. It's literally just flux that just kind of comes out when you're adding solder. So I think we're okay to leave that. We just kind of wipe off some of the dust. So now, I guess you guys want to hear it? Should we plug it in? We do a quick little test, I guess. It won't be, great audio because the cab's kind of far away from me and I just got a shotgun mic, but we can definitely test it. Show that it works. I'm curious. I know most of you guys watching do this stuff yourself, but yeah, I'm just curious what people charge for this sort of stuff and what you guys feel is fair for that. Let me know what you guys think. So let's go ahead and we'll do it this way. So now we can kind of go through and recap everything we did. Recap. So new bias cap, new cathode bypass caps here, new cap here for the trem, replace resistor, replace the screen and grid resistors, and then obviously everything doghouse and a 3-prong. So that's what we ended up doing to this amplifier. Looks good. I'm just bending up these grid resistors just so they sit a bit higher off the socket. I forgot to do this when I installed them. Just so they got a little bit of an arch to them, just like that, over the middle of the socket. I didn't catch hold. Already answered that. Your attention to detail and integrity makes you worth more than the average, in my opinion. Thank you, Josh. That's what I would go for. I would never be the, all right, let me just churn and burn. Just do a million recaps for $50 or whatever. I would definitely be more the guy that you go to because he really cares and takes his time. And also, I think there's value too, and that people are willing to spend more if you film working on your amp because there's that video history of it, and you can see the work done and all of that. It's very clear out in the open. There's no hiding any of that. Because I enjoy doing the recaps and stuff. It's very fine detail. You can see the domes here. Like, that's not a factory solder joint. You can see that. So that's a dome I created. And those are tough to do. That's not super easy. And, getting all of these to look nice, there's some skill involved for sure. So let's go ahead and turn on the Variac. You guys can't see it's off screen. Sorry about that. I will read you off the values we're pulling up here. 70 volts should start getting the pilot light, and we do. 75 volts, nothing on the current limiter. And there's 120 volts, so let's go ahead and grab the guitar. Again, for those that missed it before, I'm playing a Danocaster Jazzmaster. I don't have a pick on me or anything, so we're just flying by the seat of our pants here. Let me turn down the camera audio so we don't blow it out. All right, there you go. I hope you guys could hear everything okay there. Sounds beautiful. Gosh, this is such a good amp. Such a good amp, and an absolute steal for what they go for, what I sold it for. I mean, I didn't ask for a ton of money for it. I'm just really stoked on this thing. It sounds great. Man, such a good amp. So anyways, hopefully you guys can hear me and that wasn't too obnoxious guitar playing. My fingers are disgusting and sticky, and I've got no pick in my hand and whatever. But yeah, Danicaster Jazzmaster. You can see that. Beautiful guitar. Love it to death. And yeah, sounds amazing through that amp. Turned up, this thing just rocks. Once you get up to about 6, it's just such a good sound. Even with no reverb or anything hooked in, it's pretty stellar. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, appreciate all the live, the live commenters and people hanging out with me for the past few hours. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see you guys.